A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the ManageEngine team, I welcome you all to today's free OpManager training. Let me introduce myself. I'm R. Surendran, one of the product experts from the ManageEngine team who takes care of support, product training, and implementation for OpManager. Now, we are going to see in detail a brief description about the benefits of OpManager training series. The first benefit which we're going to see is to have a deep understanding of how to design and configure your network monitoring solution. In-depth knowledge about the product, sparing you from going through numerous number of documents to configure devices and achieve your exact requirement. Followed by the next best thing to get a personalized demo session, since it includes a live demonstration of the tool and its operation, and also examples on how OpManager is used throughout the world by various fields. For example, let's take there is a banking network which has been established all over the world, where they'll have an headquarters and multiple subdivisions where they want to monitor their devices in each site which is established in the respective zones or countries. To meet this requirement, OpManager can be used where the discovery process is pretty simple. All you have to do is enter the entire range and add the devices, and you can have custom changes for the discovery, the matrices which you want to monitor, notifications for the respective groups or technicians, and you'll have a clear picture of what is happening in your environment through the usage of OpManager. And because of the usage of OpManager as a network monitoring tool, you'll be able to have a better resource planning and a capacity management in your environment. So now we are going to discuss the schedules for this season's OpManager training series. Today, we are going to discuss the part 1, which is on network discovery, followed by the second part, which is on Jan 27th, where we'll be discussing the network monitoring in OpManager, followed by the part 3 on February 3rd, where we'll be discussing in detail about alerts, reports, and network mapping. And finally, on February 10th, we'll have the part 4, where we'll be discussing the add-ons and the available integrations which are there in the OpManager. For the convenience of the larger audience, we do have two schedules of the OpManager training series. One would be conducted in the GMT time zone, and the second one, which is now, which is conducted at 11 a.m. EST. So based on your requirement, you can attend the training series and get benefited from the course of the program. I would also like to inform you that we have a team of panelists here who could answer your questions. So if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please do raise them in the chat channel so that our team of panelists can answer them. And also, we'll be having a short question and answer session at the end of the webinar, where I will be sharing few of the interesting questions which we have received during the course of the webinar for the advantage of larger audience. So now we are going to kickstart the part 1 in our OpManager training series for this season, which is on network discovery. So as soon as you have the OpManager installed in your environment, the first process which you have to do is to discover or add the devices in your environment so that OpManager can start monitoring them. So now we'll see in detail on how the network discovery can be performed using OpManager. The agenda for part 1 of the OpManager training series. The first, we'll be seeing the various methods of device discovery options which are there in the OpManager, followed by the brand new feature which is called as agent-based monitoring, and we'll be discussing in detail about this brand new and interesting feature which we have released recently, which is called as agent-based monitoring inside OpManager for your devices, followed by interface-based discovery and various options and criteria which are available for the interface discovery and the matrices which we can monitor. And finally, we'll be looking into virtualization based discoveries where we'll discuss the various options and the methods which are available to discover your virtual environment in your setup. So now let's start the first phase of the discovery within the Op Manager. As soon as you install the Op Manager, Op Manager will automatically scan the local network and the Active Directory using the Nmap based discovery through which the devices will be added. So this will happen in the first startup of the Op Manager after the installation of the product. And the second method of discovery is called as the manual discovery. So by the name itself, you'll be able to understand that we can add the devices or the subnets on bulk using a manual method by using the various different options which are available within the product. So now we'll see in detail about the manual discovery option which is available inside the Op Manager. The first discovery method which we are going to discuss is about the network discovery option, where we have a wide range of discovery options, a fast device addition or discovery method, schedule for automatic scans of new devices, the inventory and the audit report to get details on when and what devices are added. So as you could see in the network discovery with an Op Manager, we have 4 different methods, starting with you could add the devices using an IP range or using a subnet, or you can import the devices through an Active Directory, and then you can also add the devices using a CSV file format. And we'll be seeing in detail about each discovery method in the upcoming slides, and I'll also take you to the Op Manager instance directly and show you a discovery process and how it works. So during the discovery process, we have an enhancement of giving a leverage of the devices which you want to monitor and the devices which has been scanned and listed in that particular subnet or IP range. Starting with, we have an approve and ignore mechanism which is going to give you an upper hand on the device selections to which has to be monitored and which is not needed. And likewise, you can approve the devices whenever needed, even after the discovery process. And the ignore devices. So let's take an example. Let's say you want to ignore certain devices and you don't want this to be coming forward in the future discovery process. So as soon as you hit ignore device, the Op Manager will not show these devices or scan those devices in the future discoveries, which is going to happen within the Op Manager. And also, we do have a quick discovery option where you could add the device pretty precisely. Let's take an example here. You've added your entire devices of a wide range of vendors and devices into your environment, and there is a brand new device which is into the environment. So instead of waiting for the scheduled discovery or the automatic scan to pick up the device, you can immediately go to the Op Manager, enter the IP address or DNS name, choose the credential, and hit discover. The product will add them automatically and instantaneously. So now let me take you to the Op Manager directly and show you how the discovery process works and the various options which are available for us. So as soon as you install the product and when you go into the Op Manager after logging in, the first page what you see is called as the dashboard, which is nothing but the pictorial representation of all the collected information of your environment and the devices and the configuration which you have made. So to start any discovery process, the first step which you have to do, you have to create the respective credentials which are needed for the discovery process. So inside Op Manager, all the information which are shown is based on the credential which you are providing. So based on the type of the device and the vendor and the supported protocols, you can create the respective credential and have the credential library ready so that during the discovery process, you can very well use these protocols or credentials to add and monitor the devices in your environment. So as you can see, we support a wide range of protocols to add and monitor the device, starting with SNMP, V1, V2, and V3. We can add WMI based credential, CLI based credential, VMware credential, storage device credentials, UCS, Zen. Based on each device type and its supported protocol, we do have a wide range of credential options which we could create and use them for the device data collection and the discovery process. So now we are going to see the various discovery options which are available within the Op Manager. Starting with, as you can see, as soon as you click on the Network Discovery tab, you can see a few multiple tabs which are going to help you identify the various discovery options which are there within the product. Starting with the network discovery, where you're going to have a wide range of options to discover the devices into the Op Manager, the discovery rule engine, which we're going to discuss in the upcoming slides of what is a discovery rule engine and what are the purpose of it, and rediscover option, unapproved devices, ignore devices, and the discovery report, which is going to give you the detailed description about the discoveries which has happened in the previous state, and it gives you a brief understanding of how many devices were added in that discovery process and how many were ignored or how many were scanned. So now let's kickstart a discovery process using a CSV file based discovery. So here I'm going to do a discovery for my branch 2, which is there in New York, where I have already prepared a CSV file which has all my device details, starting with the first basic 3 columns, the device name or the IP address of the device, then the display name of the device, and finally the type of the device, which is going to help us identify the vendor and what category or device type it belongs to, so that during the discovery process we can choose the respective credentials and assign them and categorize them accordingly. And the next step which you want to do is to choose the respective credentials which are going to work for the set of devices which are going to be added inside the Op Manager. So as you can see, I've already created my credential library with the respective credentials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my desired credentials and then click on discover. So as soon as I click on discover, the product will scan the entire IPs or the devices which I have selected in the CSV file, or my IP range or the subnet based on the entire devices whichever is reachable with the provided credentials. We'll be able to see a complete report of the scanned devices. So as you can see, with this CSV file, the Op Manager has scanned and it is showing me different types of devices and its various counts which are there. So as you can see, I have 2 VMware devices, and NetSNMP there are 3 devices. When it comes to servers from Microsoft, I have 7 devices, and there is an unknown device as well. And also the existing devices whichever is there within the Op Manager is also listed. So let's take, I want to add a particular device to monitoring. I want to approve it. So to approve any device, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is you have to click on the approve word on the device, and automatically that device will be approved and will be added to the Op Manager, and it will start monitoring it. And likewise, let's say you want to ignore a particular device for any future device. Let's say this 10.59.14.24 is a desktop device which I don't want to add and monitor in the future as well. So for that, all I have to do is I have to select the device and click on ignore. Let's say I want to do a bulk method of approving or ignoring the device. All you have to do is select the devices and then click on approve or ignore devices, so that the Op Manager will take the necessary action and add the devices to the monitoring inside Op Manager. And now let's quickly swap back to the discovery and see the various other options which are there within the discovery module. As we have seen, we can add a single device instantaneously as a quick discovery option. As we have seen with an example, all you have to do is you have to enter an IP address over here, 172.24.57.134, and then choose a particular credential, and all you have to do is just click on discover, and if the device is reachable, it will automatically get added and it will start monitoring. So these are the various discovery options which are available within the product, which helps you add your devices in a much more efficient and an easy manner. So all you have to remember is you have a wide range of discovery options starting from IP range. You can use your subnet based discovery, CST based discovery. You can import your devices from an active directory, and then you have to create your credential library which can be used for the discovery option. And so with these options within the op manager, you will be able to have a better discovery option or adding your devices which you want to monitor in a much better way by using op manager. So now moving on to the next topic. Agent-based monitoring, or how to deploy the agent-based monitoring within the op manager for the end devices. So as I have told you, this is a brand new feature which has been released within the product based on the customer's requirement and for the devices which are there in DMZ zones or which needs a much more greater attention of these devices. Let's say these devices are pretty critical for the environment and for our customers, and they want to monitor these devices instantaneously and get real-time data. Let's take an example here. I have a banking network, and my entire branch, which is there in New York, is connected through a main uplink router. And here, and this uplink router has to be monitored pretty precisely in real time so that I'll get instantaneous data. And let's take another example. I do have an educational institution where I have my main MS SQL server, which has to be up and running, and I need instantaneous data updates on what is happening on my MS SQL server. So in these cases, the agent-based monitoring is going to give you the real-time information about that particular device, and where the main advantage is you need not do any credentials or any ports which need to open. All you have to do is you have to install the agent on that particular server, and the op manager will start monitoring them automatically, and you'll get real-time data. So now we'll see in detail about the agent-based monitoring which is available within the op manager and how to deploy them. So this agent is a lightweight agent which is less than 1 MB. With a single click, you can install that. It works on a secured connection, so you need to enable HTTPS within the op manager with a valid certificate for you to use the agent-based monitoring and deploy the agents across various devices. Followed by, it's easily installable from the op manager or from an AD to multiple devices. So we'll be seeing in detail on how the agents can be installed on a single server or use an active directory to bulk import the devices. So when we talk about agent deployment, so it's pretty simple. All you have to do is you have to download that exe, take to the server, install it. So as soon as the agent is installed on the respective device, automatically op manager will pick it up and start monitoring it. So you need not add them manually to the op manager through discovery, let's say IP range or manual discovery process. And the second method is you can push these agents on bulk to various different devices through the active directory so that it will happen on bulk and the product will start monitoring them through the agents. And this agent, the one of the concern which our customers are or any network assist admin will have is that what will be the CPU consumption? Will this agent be a resource hungry, let's say exe or an installation? No. Our agent uses a pretty less resource on the server where it is less than 1% of the CPU of that particular server. And the agent is going to give you a real-time monitoring of that particular server or device. There is no need for any SNMP or WMI credential to use and monitor the devices when you opt for agent-based monitoring. And finally, this agent-based monitoring or the deployment is applicable only for Windows servers as of now. So if you want to use the agent-based monitoring, you could very well do it for all the Windows servers which are available in your environment. Let it be Windows 10, MS SQL Server, or let's say it's an Oracle or an Exchange server. If it's a Windows server, we can install the agents and start monitoring them in real time and get instantaneous updates on what's happening on those servers. And also, this agent is going to store the data for an hour, even if the op manager is down. Let's say due to some downtime or some problem in your environment, the op manager server or the op manager goes down. But these agents will still be monitoring your devices, and it will store the data within them. So as soon as the op manager comes back online, it's going to push the data to the product, and you will get the updated information. So through the agent based monitoring and deploying it on the respective Windows devices, you will have let's say undisturbed or uninterrupted monitoring of those servers, real-time information of what's happening on those respective critical devices, and have a better control on what's happening on those servers instantaneously. So now let me quickly take you to the product and show you how the agent-based monitoring works and how we can deploy them on bulk. So for this, all you have to do is you have to go to settings, discovery, and under discovery, you have to click on deploy agent. So as you can see, under the deploy agent, you have the option to download the exe directly from the UI. You just click on download, the exe will be downloaded, and then you could take the exe and install it on the respective devices. Let's say I don't want to manually install these agents. Product has an option to push them on bulk using the Active Directory. All you have to do is you have to give the name of that particular device. So this is going to be my MS SQL server 1, and I already have my credentials which are ready. So as soon as I have my credential and the device name, all I have to do is I have to click on deploy. So as soon as I click on deploy, op manager will push this agent to that particular device and it will install it, and as soon as the installation is completed, the product will automatically detect it and start monitoring it. So you need not manually install it as well. So let me show you on the various options of deployment of the agents through the through the Active Directory. So as you can see, we can use a GPU scheduler to push these agents to the respective devices, or you could use a GPU startup script to push the informations to those respective devices on bulk. So this is the help document from the op manager itself, where it's going to give you the detailed steps on how you could push these agents using the Active Directory using a GPU window scheduler and install them and have it working within the server so that the product can monitor it and add them in. And likewise, you could also have the GPU scripts running on the server and get all the informations accordingly. So using this particular AD method of pushing the agent on bulk to the devices, you can start monitoring the respective devices in a pretty easy way instead of manually doing any process for those devices. So this is how the agent-based monitoring is going to give you a better understanding and a leverage on the critical servers which you want to monitor, and the deployment processes are also as simple as you saw. You just have to install it and the product will pick it up. And let's say if you have existing devices which are already there within the product, we can swap them from protocol based monitoring to agent based monitoring as well, and that's pretty easy. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. The next topic which we are going to discuss is about interface discovery. So previously, within Op Manager, we'll be discovering the interfaces if we have a valid SNMP credential for those devices during the discovery itself. But to give a better privilege and an enhanced control to those interface discoveries, we have separated the interface discovery within the product, where you can add only specific type or set of credentials or set of interfaces to those devices and monitor them using Op Manager. And one little information about the interface based monitoring is that interface monitoring and discovery is going to happen only based on SNMP. So you need a valid SNMP to be enabled in the end device, and you have to configure the same credential here and associate it so that the product can discover the interfaces and monitor them. So now let me take you to the product and show you how the interface based discovery works. For this, you have to go to settings, discovery, and then click on interface discovery. So as soon as you go to the interface discovery, you can see device criteria. So which devices should I choose for this interface discovery? And then the interface criteria, which type of interfaces should I be adding. So let's take an example here. I'm going to add my devices under the category. So I need to add all my routers, whichever has SNMP, and I need to monitor certain set of specific interfaces. Let's say the admin status has to be up, and then I want a specific type of interfaces. Let's say I just need the Ethernet alone to be monitored because this is pretty vital and important for me. So I'm just going to choose the two conditions stating that it has to be a router or a switch. Let's take the category as switch as well. So if it's going to be a switch or a router with an SNMP credential, add the interfaces which are in an up state right now, and its type has to be Ethernet. So as soon as I click on discover, the product will scan those devices for the interfaces and add only the Ethernet based interfaces which are actively up and running right now to the respective devices and start monitoring it. So using the interface based discovery, you will be able to precisely discover the interfaces which you want, which are critical for your environment, and then monitor them accordingly. So this is going to make lots of manual job for the system or network administrators pretty easily, so they can monitor precisely what they want instead of monitoring everything and then going and taking the data for respective interfaces. So this is going to help them a lot in discovering the specific interfaces and monitoring them accordingly. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. And let me also give you a reminder. So if you have any questions in any of the topics which we are discussing through the course of this training, please do raise it in the chat channel. A panelist will be answering them. So let's continue with the presentation. The next topic which we're going to see is about update properties. So in real-time environments and for our customers and in our servers or devices, we will be changing the system configurations now and then based on how the resources are used. Let's say we'll increase the RAM, decrease them, add more disk space to the respective servers or devices. The Op Manager has an automated process to update these informations through the rediscovery for the existing devices. So inside Op Manager, the rediscovery of the existing devices will reflect and update the changes which is happening within the IP range, the IP address of the device, RAM, hard disk size, and etc. The Op Manager also is going to update the interface-based properties automatically every 24 hours. So if there is any change in the interface, let's say if there is a change in the if speed, or if there is a change in the if index, or the status of the interface has been changed, anything which is changed in that particular interface, the product will scan those devices every 24 hours and see if there is any change with those interfaces and update them automatically. So now let me take you to the product and show you with a live example on how to create a discovery profile for the existing devices for a specific group, so that it is going to update the respective details of those devices like IP address, RAM, and disk space automatically. So I've already created a group for my branch 2 server. So I do have a branch 2 in my New York place where I have multiple servers, and I've grouped them accordingly. And I'm going to choose this particular group for the update properties of that particular device. So I'm going to choose the respective devices as well. I'm just going to choose my SNMP and WMI credential, which is going to work for that. And then I have to click, let me give a name for this. So this is going to be for my, branch 2 devices. So I'm going to name it as branch 2, and then I can schedule it. So scheduling can be done based on, let's say you can schedule it once, you can schedule it daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. And also you could get email based notifications as well. So as soon as this automatic schedule gets completed, it's going to give you an email with a detailed report of what has happened during this updation discovery, and you'll have a better understanding if there is any changes which has happened with those devices, and you'll have a better control on what's happening within the product, and you'll have a report as well, which is going to be an evident information for you. So now let's go back to the Op Manager and continue with the presentation. The next topic which we are going to see is about virtualization discovery. So in real time, we do have a wide range of virtual environments starting from vCenter, Hyper-V, Nutanix, uh, and various other virtual environments and vendors which are available. So using the Op Manager, you will be able to monitor and add all these virtual environments in a pretty simple way and monitor them. So by using Op Manager, we have a dedicated discovery process for virtual networks that supports VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and Nutanix HCL infrastructure. Upon discovering the vCenter, other entities such as host and VMs will be automatically fetched. You need not manually add them one by one. All you have to do, you have to add your vCenter, and automatically the product is going to scan the entire vCenter and add all the hosts and the VMs which are under them, along with all the required information. And likewise, we do support vCenter and host-based discovery. Let's say I don't want to add my entire vCenter and start monitoring everything which is under them. You can add your host as well individually and monitor them according to your requirement. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various discovery options which are available for virtualization based discovery. So when we click on virtual discovery, as you can see, we can add a VMware based environment using a vCenter or an ESX host. All you have to do is you have to enter the IP address of that particular vCenter or the DNS name, and then as soon as you have entered the IP address, you have to choose the VMware credential along with the other protocols which can be used. Let's say I do have an SNMP credential, which is called a server SNMP, which is enabled on most of my virtual environments. And for Windows devices, I am using a domain account. And if I'll also have Linux servers in my vCenter environment. So I'll be able to choose different protocols based on the type of the device, and during the scan the product is going to update the respective credential which is working for that device and start monitoring them accordingly. So all you have to do is you have to click on discovery. Once you do that, all the hosts and the VMs that are under them will be listed, and you'll be able to view them and add them accordingly. Likewise, you could add your Hyper-V host, or if you want to add your Xen servers, you could do it. And let's say you have a Nutanix cluster in your environment and you want to add it. Yes, you could do it pretty easily with the Op Manager. All you have to do is enter the DNS or the IP address of the Nutanix cluster server, and then choose the credential and click on discover. So as soon as you add your virtual environment or vCenter to the product, automatically the product is going to display an information like this. So as you can see, this vCenter has 2 hosts, 32 virtual machines, and 4 data stores. This is going to give you a complete information of what is happening in your virtual environment with all the devices which are under them. Let's take, I have added my Nutanix cluster. Or how does the product is going to show the information? This is how it's going to see. You'll be able to see the Nutanix cluster based information, the number of hosts which are under them, the virtual machines, the disk which are there within them, and also the storage containers with all those informations which are there in the Nutanix based cluster and the servers which are under them. So now let's go back to the virtual discovery and continue with the other processes. So the next topic which we are going to discuss is about storage discovery. So within Op Manager, you can add your storage devices and monitor them. It's pretty easy. So in Op Manager, we do support RAID storage, tape library, FC switches, and various other vendors such as Dell, HP, and Hawaii. For the storage-based discovery and monitoring, we use SNMP, CLI, SMI, and API credentials. The storage-based monitoring and discovery is a licensed add-on where the you can add and monitor the storage devices, and the licensing is based on the number of disk which you want to manage within that particular storage device. So it is a licensed add-on, so you have to purchase it and start adding your storage devices to the product, so that the product will automatically update all the information which is happening in that particular storage device. And the discovery process is as simple as we have seen. All you have to do is you have to enter the IP address and then choose the credentials and click on discovery, as simple as we are adding a normal server. So the next topic which we are going to see is about Nutanix Discovery, where we have seen a brief understanding on how we could discover the Nutanix cluster and how it looks after the discovery process. So now I'm going to give you a detailed information about this particular Nutanix Discovery within the product. So all you have to do is you have to discover the Nutanix cluster, then automatically all the entities such as host, VMs, storages will automatically be discovered, and it'll start monitoring it. And likewise, you'll have a Nutanix based virtual map which you could use to understand and see how the devices are being monitored and is actually working in that particular Nutanix cluster and how it's connected. We have dedicated reports with summary, inventory, and latency, and etc., so that you'll get the required information precisely based on Nutanix environments. And also, OpManager uses the Prism API framework to fetch the performance matrices about the Nutanix cluster and the VMs which are under them. And you could visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation, which is going to show you how the Nutanix discovery can be done and how the discovery process works, and after the discovery, how the devices would be listed. And let me take you to the product quickly and also again show you how the Nutanix clusters can be added. So all you have to do is you have to go to settings, discovery, virtual discovery, and under Nutanix you have to enter the details of the device, choose the Prism API credentials, and once the discovery is completed, you will be able to see all the information about the Nutanix cluster with the host, virtual machines, and the storage containers which are there within this particular Nutanix environment. So using this discovery options about your virtual environment and storage devices, you can add and monitor all the devices, VMs which are there in the Nutanix cluster, and use them to a better understanding about what's happening in your environment. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about the layer 2 discovery. We can discover the entire network through a seed or a core router, set device dependencies automatically, configure schedule intervals to update the devices in the network automatically. So now let me take you to the product and show you how the layer 2 discovery works and how you could add more devices to the product. So give me one moment. Let's go to the layer 2 discovery option and continue on seeing the various informations which are available within a layer 2 discovery. So the first thing what a network administrator would like to do is to have an entire picture of what's happening in their environment. It's pretty easy with the op manager. So all you have to do is you have to give a name for the discovery process. So this is going to be for my branch 2 devices, and my core router's IP address is as follows: is 192.120.30.244, and then it's going to use these mechanisms. So as you can see, based on the device type, we can use CDP or LLDP or IP route or FTP or op based discovery. So we have various discovery mechanisms to identify the device and its connection to the core router and the environment and draw you the diagram. And finally, we can choose the IP range in which the scan has to happen, and finally give and start and an end IP range. You can choose multiple IP ranges for the discovery process, and you need a valid SNMP credential for this process to work. And also you could set the device uplinks automatically. So the device dependencies will be configured automatically when you do the layer 2 discovery. All you have to do is choose the core router with an SNMP credential, give a subnet range, then the product is going to draw the entire diagram and add the devices automatically. So now let me show you on how the actual diagram looks when once a layer 2 map has been done. So I've already discovered two of my core routers with the respective subnets to show you the difference on how the diagram is going to show you. So this is the same core router, but what I've done is I've discovered them only with a specific IP range. So these are the devices which are there within that particular IP range. And likewise, when I draw it for the entire IP range with multiple subnets, this is my whole diagram of my entire environment. So by whenever the network administrator or the system admin comes in and sees this diagram, they'll have a clear picture of what device is connected to what and how the discovery is happening. And instead of adding them manually one by one for the network devices, just add your core router with the respective subnets, and everything is going to be shown in a pictorial representation, and the discovery is going to happen pretty easily for them. So if this is going to save a lot of time for the network administrator or the system administrators who are managing the environment in a pretty easy manner. So now let's continue with the presentation. The next topic which we are going to see is about the wireless LAN discovery. So we'll be having our wireless LAN controllers in our environment where it monitors the SSIDs, the access points, and the users which are under them. So the product with the wireless LAN discovery, you can add the WLCs to the product and monitor them. So here we have an exclusive support for wireless LAN controllers with the OpManager, in-depth visibility of your wireless LAN controller environment and its associated services, set identifiers such as SSIDs and the access points, and OpManager supports Aruba controllers, Cisco controllers, Huawei, and these vendors within the OpManager for the wireless LAN controller based discovery and monitoring. And the wireless LAN controller is a licensed version where you will be have to purchase a wireless LAN controller's license and the respective access points. By default, the pack comes with one wireless controller with 50 access points, and based on your requirement, you can increase the number of access points which you want to manage and increase them according. The bundles will vary according to your environment and the pricing. So all you have to do is purchase the wireless LAN controller based module and then add your WLCs to the OpManager and get the complete information about your environment. So now let me quickly take you to the product and show you how this is going to work. So for this, it is pretty simple. So all you have to do is you have to go to Discovery and click on wireless LAN controller, enter the device IP address or DNS name, and then choose the model of it. This is going to be my Aruba wireless controller. Then choose a particular credentials. Let me choose my credential over here. So as soon as I choose my credential, all I have to do is and click on add device. I've already added one of my wireless LAN controller to the product. Let me show you a brief understanding on how the op manager shows various information about your WLC once it's discovered. So as soon as the WLC is discovered within the product, you'll be able to see the detailed information about your wireless LAN controllers environment. As you can see, there are 8 SSIDs, and the SSIDs is going to give you the detailed information about how many access points are connected to them. With each access point, how many devices or what respective endpoints are connected to them. The rogue SSIDs will be listed, and all the clients which are connected to your access points through the wireless LAN controller will be listed in a pretty precise manner. So by this discovery process, using the wireless LAN controller discovery within the op manager, you'll be able to add your controller to the product pretty easily and get all the information in a detailed manner of your WLC environment. So with SSIDs, access points, how many users are there, how many clients are there, what are the rogue SSIDs which are there, and then once the discovery is completed, you could take the necessary actions based on the collected information and the alerts which has been reached. And before I could continue with the presentation, if you have any questions during the course of the webinar in the topics which we are discussing, please do raise them in the chat channel. Our panelists will be answering them. The next topic which we are going to discuss is about groups. Using OpManager, we can group devices or interfaces based on sites, departments, etc. We can push configuration to specific groups to set device downtime, configure thresholds for interfaces, fetch group-based reports, or more. Threshold settings based on custom groups. So let's take an example here. As I've told, I do have one of my banking site or an educational institution which has multiple sites in different countries. So each country and each let's say branch has its own requirement and set of devices, and the base of monitoring differs and the team is also different. So with the grouping option, you could group all the devices which are there in that particular site and assign it to the respective technicians and do configuration changes, take reports, push configurations, and do every other device based changes using a group based push instead of manually pushing them and selecting the devices one by one. And likewise, you can do it depending on branches as well. Let's say if it's going to be an educational organization, they'll have different branches based on the stream of education which they are teaching under the same university. So let's say there is an environmental field with different device groups, and there is another group where they teach psychology. So based on the devices in each of those departments, you can assign those devices to the respective technician and make changes, push configuration, take reports according to that department, site, or branch based on the group which you have created. So now let me take you to the product and show you how a device group can be created within the op manager and how that can be used for the better understanding. For this, you have to go to settings, configuration, groups. So under groups, you can create the groups as we have told for interfaces or devices based on your requirement. So first I'm going to create this for my branch 2 devices, and then I can manually select those devices or add them based on criteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this particular group for a particular device and add them based on criteria. So the type has to be a Windows 2008 device, or it has to be a Windows 2010 device. And here you have an option to choose between the criteria, whether it has to be an or an and condition. So as soon as you've selected the criteria or grouped them manually, all you have to do is click on next, and then you can choose the status update based on which device it has to happen, and then you'll see the detailed information about the devices. Let's say I've already created a group for you, which is going to give me the detailed information about the grouped interfaces and its informations in a pretty easy way. Let's say what are the options and the flexibilities advantages which I have when I use a group. Let's say I want to push a downtime scheduler. I have a scheduled downtime for my respective branch 2 servers. I can configure this downtime or a maintenance window for that device. Let's say this is going to happen every month, and I'm going to group them based on the group itself. So this is going to be for my branch 2 devices, and I'm going to schedule it every month. I do have a maintenance window from 3 a.m. To 5 a.m. every day. Sorry, every month. And as soon as I've created this, I could also send it as an email of what has happened for this particular downtime for this specific group. And likewise, you could do the same group-based selections for pushing uh, interface-based thresholds, or you could take reports for them. You could set downtime schedulers for them. You can create specific users and assign them to specific business views or groups based on your requirement. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And as you can see, I've shared a link at the bottom of the presentation slide. If you click on that, you'll be able to see a detailed video on how the grouping works with an op manager, what are the advantages using the grouping option, and the various configuration changes and its advantages with the op manager using a group within the product for devices or interfaces. So now let's continue with the next topic. I want to make my discovery smart. How to do it? What are the various options within the product to make my discovery much more smarter in an easier way? Apart from all the easy ways which are there, how can I make it even more easy and smart? For this, you can use two options. One is called as the discovery filter. Let's take an example here where you want to add or ignore a specific type of device. You can have different criteria as IP range, IP address, category, or device type or device name. So using a discovery filter, you can achieve this. Let me show you within the product on how this can be achieved. So when you go to a discovery option and create a specific, let's say, IP range or a subnet based discovery, you have an option called as ignore devices, which is otherwise called as discovery filter. In the discovery filter, here I don't want to add my desktops or laptops within the product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the options called as ignore devices, and then I'm going to give the category as laptop. So as soon as I've added this criteria to the discovery profile, so even if it scans the entire IP range or subnet or the CSV file-based devices, it's going to ignore any device which is a laptop. The same you could do it for desktops, or you can add specific devices in that particular range and make your discovery process even more smart using the discovery filter. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. Using the discovery filter, it's going to save a lot of time for you and also the license. Instead of wasting your licenses managing your laptops or desktop, which is less critical, you could add them to the ignore list and completely forget about them during discovery process. And the second way to make your discovery process smart is using a discovery rule engine. So here I'm going to explain the same using an example, which is going to give you a better understanding. So we have one of our system administrator who wants to discover all the Windows 2012 servers, which starts with an IP of 192.168.1, and to monitor this specific URL. And also he wants to associate a notification profile for the down devices and email them to a specific user who's called as James. And likewise, he wants to put another condition as well. He wants to associate servers with a business view named as HU. And finally, he wants to do a fourth task where he wants to associate Windows event-based log monitors to those specific servers. So now let me take you to the product and show you how this can be achieved. For this, you have to go to settings, discovery, and under discovery, you have to click on the discovery rule engine. So as soon as you can see under the discovery rule engine, I've already created a discovery rule which is going to scan the IP ranges and see if it's starting with the IP of 192.168.1 and see if it's a Windows 2012, and then add this particular URL monitor and associate them to a specific notification profile. And but this requirement example had 4 different actions. So as you can see, I can add as many actions as I want based on the criteria which I am selecting. So as you can see, you can add process monitors, service monitors, Windows monitors, file folders. You can associate devices to the business view, put them or associate them to specific notification profiles, alert specific users. So this discovery rule engine is going to help you make the discovery process pretty easy and also do all these steps with the discovery process, which is going to save a lot of time after the device has been done. So let's take, I have already discovered my devices, but I've created a brand new discovery rule and I want to run them to the existing devices. Yes, you could do it. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is select the respective discovery rule engine which you want and then click on run now. So as soon as you do this, this is going to run this particular devices to all the respective selected devices which you're doing, and then it's going to run this particular discovery rule engine, and if it's matching the criteria, it's going to perform the selected actions. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. A big news to all our customers. We have introduced one of the most demanding feature which has been there in the market and it's been requested for all our customers, which is called as OpManager MSP. So now let me show you a brief description about the various options and the usability of the MSP within OpManager. So with this, you'll have an ideal network monitoring software for your MSPs where you'll have a network server monitor, a centralized monitoring, simplified and it's pretty affordable. You'll have multiple tenant supports, a customer-based groupings, customer dashboards, and various other options. So Op Managers has an MSP-based product moving forward. So if you are interested and if you are an MSP, you can opt for the Op Manager MSP and start uh, giving services to your customers and monitoring their environments pretty easily. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. So now we are entering the question and answer session. The first question, what is the system requirement to install Op Manager? So as you can see, the Op Manager can be installed on a virtual or a physical server. We support MS SQL and PG SQL for the databases. For the minimum amount of 250 devices, we need 20 GB of hard disk and a 4 GB of RAM. Right now, Op Manager can be installed on a Linux or a Windows-based environment. To know more about all the system requirements and the ports which needs to be opened, visit the link at the bottom of the presentation slide to get more information about all the system requirements to install Op Manager in your environment. Moving on to the next question. I'm an evaluator. I need help in choosing the right edition which you have. So Op Manager has three major editions which are called as Standard, Professional, and Enterprise. Standard is a limited version of Op Manager with limited features where virtual-based monitoring, AD-based logins are not there, but you can add and monitor the devices. The basic monitoring is pretty much possible and it's straightforward. A professional edition of the Op Manager, which is going to have all the features where you can monitor any type of device and you can have AD logins, you can push configurations, you can do everything which we are seeing in the presentation and the training program of this particular Op Manager series. And also we do have an enterprise edition where it is a distributed architecture where you can have multiple sites, add devices to them and monitor them using a centralized location. If you need more information about the feature-based differences between these three editions, you could visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. Can the agent-based monitoring notify us when there is a server reboot? Yes, the agent-based monitoring can do it. Can I re-add the ignored devices again? Yes, you can very well re-add the ignored devices. All you have to do is you have to go to the discovery and go to the ignored device list. Go to the ignore device list and then remove this device from that particular list. So as soon as you have removed it, you can add them to the product and monitor them. What are the supported device models in storage-based monitoring? In storage-based monitoring, we support a wide range of devices and vendors, and this is the official documentation for all the supported models in the storage-based monitoring within the Op Manager, starting from Dell, HP, Aruba, and all other devices which are there in the live environment. You can monitor them and add them. And as we have already discussed, storage-based monitoring and discovery is a license-based add-on. You have to purchase the storage add-on, and this is licensed based on number of disks which you want to manage. Going back to the presentation and continuing with the next question. Is there a place in Op Manager's UI where I can see the newly added features? Yes, there is a small gift icon at the top right corner, which you have to just click on it and you'll be able to see the latest feature which has been introduced in this version where you've upgraded to. Moving on to the next question. Can I add and monitor the vCenter version 7 in Op Manager? Yes, you could do it. vCenter 7 is supported from the build 12.5.181. So if you're above that, you can very well monitor the vCenter version 7. And I would like to welcome you to the next part of the Op Manager training series, which is conducted on 27th of January this month, where we'll be discussing in detail about the network monitoring in Op Manager, where we'll see device availability, server network, virtual performance matrices, WLC and IPSLA monitoring, and script-based monitoring. And we will be uploading all our technical training videos and how to do videos in our YouTube channel. You can visit them and view them whenever you want to do it. You could also visit our help document by going to the URL, which is help.opmanager.com, and get all the documentation information. We'll be having our technical discussion in our forum post. And if you want to reach us through email or phone call, you could very well drop an email or dial in directly and get in touch with our team and get your address, your queries or questions pretty easy. And let's say you want to get certified as an Op Manager Pro and use the Op Manager to the fullest and monitor your environment. And this is the right time. All you have to do is register yourself in the link which is given there, attend the examination, and get certified as an Op Manager Pro, and use the same for a better professional enhancement, and use the same knowledge to use the Op Manager for betterment and monitor your environment pretty precisely using all the options which are there within the Op Manager. I thank one and all for attending this Op Manager training series. If you have any questions, you could raise them. We'll be answering them. I thank one and all once again. Have a great day ahead, and I am looking forward to meet you all in the next part of the Op Manager training series, which is conducted on 27th of January. Thank you.